everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, Confessions of a Rock and Roll Zelig, episode 4. And this is a super exciting special episode because we have a special guest. So first, I'll introduce my wonderful co-host and father, Del Breckenfeld. Hi, Dad.
Hey, Holly.
Been a little bit.
You're live from Denver.
I'm live from Denver. Yay. We'll get into that really quick. I'll quickly update everyone for anyone who's interested. But really quick, I want to introduce our very special guest, my only and favorite sister, Shanna Breckenfeld.
Hi.
Shanna.
Hi. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah. No,
Yay.
It was super fun. We've been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm glad we finally found the time.
Yeah.
And all three of us are on. So yeah, so we have a really fun episode planned for everyone today. You know, sidetracked a little bit just to give you a little life update. Again, we're really excited to finally be in Colorado. But yeah, let's get to the topic of our podcast today. So Shanna, you're welcome to come on anytime. You're welcome on here anytime. But I think the biggest reason we wanted to do this episode specifically was the first 3 episodes and especially the last one. You know, we've been diving into stories that my dad has about, random places he's been and people he's gotten to meet and the amazing things he's gotten to see and do over his career. But the fun thing, and maybe sometimes not so fun thing that we'll talk about, being your children, is Shanna and I sometimes found ourselves in these situations with you. And not only that, sometimes I'm sure that you found yourself, Dad, in situations that you never thought you did because your daughters wanted you to take us to, it's weird talking, sorry, in different persons. We wanted you to take us to specific shows. We wanted, we love music. We wanted to see people. We wanted to meet people. So we would be like, Dad, can you get tickets to that? And of course if you were able to, you always did. So anyway, so through you, Shanna and I have kind of found ourselves over the years in these weird Zelig-esque situations as well. So we thought it'd be a fun episode to have me and Shanna on to talk about those.
Yeah. And I mean, the reason I wanted you to come along, sometimes it was just a matter of picking
you didn't have a babysitter.
Right, picking you up at school and you're coming with me, but also because I felt guilty a lot of times. Because the hours that you had to keep in the music entertainment business are not 9 to 5, and that's what I did love about it. But it also made it very difficult to see you guys on a regular schedule. So if I could pick you up from school, and you could, not just tag along, but you could be part of it, or you could accompany me where I knew an artist, or it was an emergency and someone will. Sometimes we'll talk about ZZ Top, and that was no choice. I mean, I came down to the wire. But one thing that I remember, Holly, the ultimate compliment you gave me, you were trying to deliver guitar. You're working in LA for an agency, and you're trying to deliver guitar to Gilby Clark's house somewhere in the Hollywood Hills. And you called me and you said, Dad, it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm driving around the Hollywood Hills looking for Gilby Clark's house, and it's so pitch black out here. I become my dad.
I'm like, I do remember that.
Fine,
Yeah, that's the ultimate dad trip right there.
That moment in my life.
They had this thing called the Thompson Guide, and it was, and you had to look it up. There wasn't. This is not even that long ago, but before you had apps, and I'd have this guide in California with in Chicago I knew, but California, every page you had to look up the street. Oh. But celebrities sometimes didn't have their address in the Thompson Guide or the street. And one of them was Prince. We'll talk about that story at a later date. But trying to find Prince's house because it's not listed anywhere. You can't find the address. But anyway, it was scary. And at night, you had it on your lap and you're driving, and most dangerous. Talk about texting and driving. Imagine trying to read a map everywhere. So anyway, that was the purpose of you guys becoming the mini Zeligs, or the next generation of Zeligs.
So let's see. I know last week, what did we talk about a little bit? We talked about the monkeys, how good Kevin Costner smelled. I remember that. Dwight Yoakam, which we remembered that it was him. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could just start, or Shan, we can even count down our top 3 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah, that works.
That open works. Forum. Okay, by the way, everyone, it sounds like, oh my God, our whole lives we've heard, oh, your dad does that. Oh, that's so amazing. Oh, you must love it. You must feel so lucky. Let me tell you guys, no, we were regular children that were dragged around sometimes. We were like, why do we have to go here? And a lot of times dad would be like sitting and talking to people. We'd be so bored, or like we'd be like falling asleep backstage. Like that was our life. So
If only we had iPads or smartphones like the kids have today. Could you imagine?
My daughter,
just the games we would play. Yeah, the road blocks from back then. I don't even know. It would be a whole different world. But a lot of times it was studying the tile on the wall, or somebody come over and just start talking to you, an adult, and having a good time. Oh, yeah, it's great.
Sure. Yeah. I'm exhausted.
There was some adventure, Holly. I remember going to see the band The Storm, which was Journey.
I do remember that.
Steve
I
Perry
remember that. Yeah.
quit. They had a band. Greg Raleigh had a band called The Storm, and we went to see their show. And I think it was you, Holly, right? We were up on
both
stage.
of us. Both of us.
And I think you guys asked to play Greg's keyboard, just to play notes on it.
It was probably Holly for sure. I know I would never have had the
Holly
gumption
walked
to
right
go
in.
ahead. Oh yeah, she didn't care.
He was so enamored with you guys, and he was so happy. You were up there like tinkling on the piano before the show. And I just remember you and I saw Steve Perry as well, Shan, when he did a solo tour. But the point was that a lot of artists really like that. They have kids, and in baby boomer generation, you wanted to make sure that, even the bands that were touring and stuff sometimes would have their children with them. So I think there were certain artists that I was comfortable knowing that, hey, they're going to think it's really cool if my daughters come and they want to meet you, and if you get to know somebody, if you just meet them the first time, it's not the same thing.
We were pretty cute. So that saved us a lot. I made that going for us. So, okay. So I have a few that stick in my head. One of them, and there is a lot. I mean, guys, we could do like literally episodes and episodes of this. So, but Dad, I think your favorite one that you like to talk about usually is the time that we went to Richie Sambora and Heather Locklear's house when they were still together. Okay. And you and I think, remember it in different, a little bit different ways. Cause again, I was young, but I do remember getting there. It was this huge estate with I think this huge fountain outside. And Richie came out first and he said something like, okay. So sorry to go back. There's all this context, but Shanna and I growing up, we were obsessed, obviously, like so many people, with Beverly Hills 90210, and then eventually Melrose Place that had Heather Locklear in it. She was the worst. She was the one that you loved to hate,
Right.
She was a really good actress. Her character, I don't remember her character's name. Samantha?
I can't remember either. It's been Amanda.
Okay.
Maybe I'm going to say, but yeah, she was great at being a villain. She was awesome.
Yeah.
In that
and
show.
Dad, we got to give you credit because you used to watch 90210 with us all the time. You made fun of it the entire time, but you would watch it with us. So
it was an Ian Zerling was the guy. Who did
Poodle Boy.
Always get mad.
Poodle Boy.
I call him Poodle Boy because
I loved Ian Zering.
Steve with hair like Harpo Marx or something. And I come down, why are you guys watching this? And I sit down, it was interesting. And I go, oh, where's Poodle Boy? And you go, Dad, stop it. Anyway, that's the context.
Right. There's the context. So meeting Heather Locklear, I think at that age was a bigger deal than Richie Sambora. Sorry, Richie. I apologize. But in my head at the time. So I think Richie said something like, oh, Heather just left, or she's on a run, or she's going to be back soon, or something. Or maybe she was, no. She was about to leave. And he said, oh, she has to run, but she wanted to wait to say hi to you guys. And I remember meeting Heather Locklear, and that was I was like, oh my gosh, this is, I don't know, that was a big deal for me. And then with Richie Sambora, I didn't quite understand yet. I was into heavier music then. So Bon Jovi was a little too light for me, probably at that point. I don't know. But I knew who Richie Sambora was. I didn't really understand how real, what an amazing musician he was and how prevalent he was. But I just remember being really trying to be really respectful. And I tried calling him Mr. Sambora, and he was like, oh no, call me Richie. And that was really sweet. And then the other thing I really remember is just that I had to use the bathroom at one point, and I remember asking, like, I'm so sorry, can I use the bathroom, please? And I think he sent me in like Heather's bathroom, and it was literally like bigger than our house. Or no, I mean, it was like, but it was like bigger than my bedroom.
You said that to Richie. Remember you go, Richie, I think we're Mr. Sambora, you go, Heather's bathroom is bigger than our whole upstairs that my daughter and I stay at. And he goes, honey, I grew up in New Jersey. Heather's bathroom is bigger than the house that I lived in. I remember him saying that,
It was huge. And there were lots of like pictures of her in there, which was really interesting.
And the
funny.
infinity pool, they had a pool that went off the second floor that looked like it was, the infinity it was a hot tub that went, I mean, it was pretty spectacular.
Wow,
I don't know.
incredible.
Maybe that's a fountain I'm thinking of. Maybe like in my head, I like made that a fountain, but maybe it was a pool and I just didn't like comprehend then. But
she came, when Heather saw you, she came up and said, who's this? And I go, this is my daughter, Holly. And she goes, you are so cute. I remember like that. She was thin.
I mean,
remember her waist was about, 10 inches or something. She looked good. She was jogging. I remember that. So
she was, yeah, she had to go leave or something like that. Yeah. So that was kind of always like a funny story. It's pretty, a lot, most of these stories are really
you're not done with the story yet.
What am I forgetting?
We went in the car and you said, Dad, can you roll up the windows?
No, Dad.
Come on. It was so funny. You were a young girl, 11 years old, 12 years old. What did you say?
I go,
why do you want me to roll up the windows? It was hot out. What do you want me to roll up the windows? Because I'm going to scream.
That's adorbs.
You're 11
That's
years
so
old.
cute, Tom.
This episode was a terrible idea. completely embarrassing.
I warned you guys.
I do remember that faintly. I do. Like I said, I think it was like a bigger deal to meet Heather. I don't know, like what you would think at that point, kind of growing up with it and stuff. But I do remember being a little starstruck that time. Yeah. Okay, that was my. All right, Shanna, the one you go with next better be as embarrassing as mine then.
No, I mean, I don't have any really embarrassing ones. Are we counting down from 3 to 1 or 1 to 3? It doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I think the best story that I have is Extreme. I mean, I was absolutely enamored with the band. I love them. If Monica, my friend of like, I don't know how many years, 40 years, my friend Monica, if she hears this, she's just going to give me so much crap about it. She hated Extreme. She thought they're so cheesy, but I love
three
them.
sides to every story, everyone.
Yeah. So I've loved them forever. I still love them. And they had a radio station gig, right, Dad?
It was the Loop.
They're on the Loop, right?
We were taking Nuno because I would do promotions with him. I was with a company called Washburn before Fender, and he was our main guy. And we were going to radio station. A guy named Kevin Matthews was a DJ.
Yes, gosh, I haven't heard that name forever.
And he had a show, and we were late because Nuno was always late. I mean, I'd pick him up for an in-store event. There'd be hundreds of people to meet him, and his pants were in the dryer. I hope he's not listening. And I go, Nuno, we got to be late. And he goes, we're not late. And I said, we're supposed to be there. And he said, it starts when I get there. He had his pants. He didn't have his pants.
I mean, he's right.
No, but he was great. I mean, he was so great to work with. So you could pick it up because you sat with him in the back seat.
Yeah. So we drove from the radio station gig in their car with Nuno, and I think his tour manager at the time, correct? And then we went to the gig, and I believe it was at the world's, well, it was the Tweeter Center. I don't even know what it's called now, First National Bank. And so we drove in. I remember we were running late again, and they're opening for Bon Jovi. And so the car was able to go on the side of the road and just bypass all this traffic going into the world stage. Is that what it's called? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But the world stage. And we were sitting next to each other, and I offered him a piece of gum, and he said yes. And I thought that was like just made my world. I loved it so much. And then we got out, and we were backstage. Where all the bands are in the tour buses, and we got out, and John Bon Jovi was probably a couple feet away, and I just had a heart attack. And that was like the most fun show, watching them open for Bon Jovi, which is another one of my favorite bands, and it was such a great experience all the way around. It was so much fun.
The radio interview was funny though, Shanna, if you remember, because because Kevin met Nuno through Dweezil Zappa, and I met Dweezil, Frank's son, through Nuno as well. They were really dear friends. And so, because we were late and we were listening on the radio, I remember we were listening to the interview, and Kevin goes, oh, what's Nuno like? Like, who does he look up to? Who's his favorite guitar player? And and Dweezil said Eddie Van Halen. Oh, that's his favorite. He loves Eddie Van Halen. He idolizes him. And Nuno's, smiling and stuff, and he wasn't saying much. And Kevin goes, so did he ever meet him? And Dweezil goes, oh yeah, I he bugged me, he wanted to meet him. And Nuno goes, no, I didn't bug him. He's like answering, but you can't hear him. He's on, we're listening to the radio. And Kevin goes, what was it like? And he said, we had all these questions. And when I introduced him to Eddie, finally, he got starstruck and he couldn't talk. Nuno's like, no, that's not. Laughing so hard because, Dweezil was just saying stuff, knowing, that Nuno, because I think we didn't have cell phones or anything at that time. Maybe that,
No, I know.
And Kevin was like, where are they? But I do remember Nuno always remembered you, Shan, because his daughter was born on February 1st, which is your birthday.
Right.
Oh.
That's right.
Yeah. And so when I went to NAMM, when he was at Washburn before COVID, the last NAMM, I went to see Nuno, and Nuno, he said, how's your daughter and everything? And I said, fine, because they did More Than Words at the Park Theater. They sang More Than Words to You. You were in that opera box. I don't even know this one, but I remember Gary wanted to, because he knew that you loved that song. That was really special. And
Shanna, you had
he sang
them sing directly to you in an opera box.
Yeah, she was in an opera box.
Yeah, that was at the Vic Theater. That was another show because I've seen Extreme so many times. Yeah, we were like, and I was like almost hanging off the side, singing every song, knowing every word. So after the show, we went and met him backstage. He's like, "Wow, you had such great energy, and you knew every song. You're like our biggest fan, man." I'm 17. I was like, yeah.
Shannon and I actually put up posters at Biasco Music where I took accordion lessons when I was like 5 years old. I hated it.
I remember Biasco.
The Biasco family, they wanted to have Nuno, and More Than Words had just hit. And it was the first time I actually got to see Nuno. And we were on a boat ride. It was raining. It was some sort of radio station promotion. And I got John Starble, our dear friend, who was my road manager. He had a limo company. And we drove Nuno and Nuno's manager, Steve Hoffman. Rest in peace. He's a great guy. And I was so afraid no one was going to show up. And the night before, Shanna and I put posters up everywhere, all over the north side of Chicago. And it's raining that day. We're in the limo. We're pulling up. And I'm going, I hope somebody shows up. I was so embarrassed. The owner of the company was there from Washburn. And we pull up, and there's literally 500 kids like in the street, because More Than Words was like a #1 song, #1 video.
Yeah.
And we pull up, and all Steve Hoffman, he's from Boston, like the band. He looks at me and sees the crowd, and he goes, "More security, Del. We need more security." And there was a riot. It made the newspaper. They called it the Fiasco at Biasco.
Oh, clever.
They locked the doors. They never saw that kind of a crowd.
Yeah.
And we had to get Nuno out through the. You were with me, Shanna, right? Were you there with me on that?
No, not on the day.
Because we had to get out of the alley, and it was just like the Beatles, and we had to get to another gig, but we had time, and people were chasing the limo down the street, and they were grabbing it, and John Starble's like, "Hey, don't touch the car," and I'm like, "Will you please get out of here?" That was amazing. But yeah, Shanna, you helped me promote that one, and it was a big one. Nuno told me that's still one of the biggest events that he had ever done. Mm-hmm. So anyway, nice story. If no people don't know Extreme, Nuno Bettencourt, one of the greatest.
Look him up. You gotta look him up just for the guitar playing alone.
Yeah. Also his solo album. I'm pretty sure Shannon and I are the biggest fans of his
solo album.
Know
every word still to this day.
Side story really quick for that. Shannon, I don't know if you remember, but Dad used to have a work phone at our house. So we had a separate phone line just for his work calls, but again, before cell phones. And when it would ring, Shanna and I would run to it and always like to see who could be first to pick it up, because you never knew who would be calling you. And I remember one time, I don't know if Shanna was at home or like I got to it though. I got to the phone. It definitely was Nuno asking for you. And I was like, "Oh my God. Come on, let me go get my dad." Oh my God. So that was funny. So
He was great when I left Washburn. I love that guy. And when I left Washburn that night, I came home and everybody was there and everybody kind of sad, I'm not at Washburn anymore, which then allowed me to go to Fender, but I didn't know it at the time. And I walked in and everybody looked up and everybody's like sad. My mom and dad, grandma and grandpa were there, and the phone rings and it's Nuno. And the first thing is like, you can't leave. You can't. I have no choice. They're corporations coming in. And Nuno goes, no, no. And I remember he was really upset. He actually told Washburn off on my behalf. And, we were just great friends. That's all I'm going to say. And I was able to, it's still, Shanna, you and I saw him play and that Monsters of Rock or whatever it was called, the guitar tour.
Oh yeah, in San Diego, that was a lot of fun too.
And he started More Than Words, and everybody started cheering. And he stopped, and he goes, "No, no, no! I need to play something else." Midnight Express. Anyway, that's a good one, Shannon. That's a good one.
Yeah. One that I just feel like I have to just mention that was a huge moment for me was when you took me to Soundgarden and you took me backstage and I got to meet everyone like in a line from Soundgarden and have them sign something for me. I met Chris Cornell, Kim Sale.
You met Chris Cornell? I didn't know that. Lucky Ducky.
It was one of the best moments. I don't remember who they were playing with, but man, I remember Soundgarden, and that was the best. One that you didn't have on the list, Dad, you took me to it was like Spin Doctors, Cracker, and someone else. And I want to say Live.
I think it was Live. I didn't go to that one. I went to a different one though, like a different show for that.
Right,
tour.
like the same tour.
Yeah.
I love Live, and I get made fun of it all the time, and I don't care. Come at me, people. Love that band. So that's what I was excited for. But then everyone knew, the one song by Spin Doctors, and then the one famous song by Cracker, right at the time. But the best part was I went backstage. Dad was talking to someone forever as usual. I'm sure I was just sitting back there, like in the green room, bored. I don't know about you, Shambo. What I used to do is when it was really late and I was tired, I used to step on Dad's foot a lot when he was talking to people, kind of like, hurried up, I want to go home. But this time I was just sitting there and someone came up to me and was like, I think one of the girls or I don't know. And she was like, hey, what are you doing? Do you look bored? Do you want to go have some fun? And I was like, yeah. I think she just told Dad like, oh, I'm taking your daughter really quick to here. And you were just like, oh, okay. And she took me to this completely packed, it was Cracker's after show party. And it was literally like a huge dance party in a room somewhere backstage. And next thing I know, I was like smashed up dancing to all these people. And then the next thing I know is I was dancing with the singer of Cracker, like me and him. And he was like wearing these crazy glasses and this hat. And I just remember him being like, hey, how's it going? And I was like, I don't know where I am right now. I'm having a great time. I don't know where my dad is either. I don't really care at this moment.
How old were you,
Holly?
10?
10, if
oh
that.
my God. No, Children and Family Services are listening to this now.
Might be the
Do you know where your children are? They're partying with Cracker, the band Cracker.
I actually have a platinum album from Live.
I remember that. I love it. You should put it up in our new School of Rock. Just saying.
Yes. I have them packed away somewhere. I don't really display them. I'm not bragging, but
right.
Artists like that. Anyway, that's a great memory. I totally forgot about that. I did rescue you though.
You did come and find me at some point. You were like, Holly, we gotta go. And I was like, but I'm partying. That was really fun. So yeah, Crackers, the most random place ever to be. The band Crackers after show disco party. That's what it was called. So that was a lot of fun. So, okay, I snuck 2 quick ones in there, but Shan, go ahead. What's your next one?
It's hard. There's just so many. Gosh, I don't even know.
We're very lucky.
We have been very lucky, Dad. Yeah, for sure. And getting backstage for a lot of them. And the great one was Bush. I was a huge fan of Bush. And we went backstage and they were just the sweetest British guys ever. And they had this whole setup with food. And I remember they were like, we've got strawberries. Would you like some strawberries?
Strawberry fields?
Like Spinal Tap. This one has something in it, but this one there's nothing.
I asked for it not to have.
Yeah. I don't like this.
Gavin, will it affect your show tonight? No, I'm a professional.
I'll rise above it.
And
They're
Gavin's not
just
too
the
bad looking,
sweetest.
is he, Shan?
Oh no, the whole
No.
band was very dreamy, 16 years old back there, and I just thought the world of them. But to me, it was always more about the music and my love for the music and the whole the whole experience in and of itself. I would just
Yeah.
had such a blast. And same with Foo Fighters. They were great too. They were such sweethearts.
You met Foo Fighters?
I did,
A
yeah.
girl? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
Ryan and
Why
Ryan
did Shanna get all the good shows, Dad?
No, Holly, you got Metallica, and I wasn't
Sound
even with you. I dropped it.
right? Soundgarden would have been a
Metallica.
huge one.
Yeah, well, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is
Wait,
sounding
in
better
90,
now.
now we're going back and forth really quick, but yeah, in 96, Dad only got 2 tickets to Metallica at the Anaheim Pond, and I obviously wasn't going with my dad. I was like, no, I need to bring my best friend Devin. What's up, Devin Daly? If you ever listen to this. So you dropped us off at the Anaheim Pond, and that was, I think, the first show I ever went to alone. It was that or Ozfest, yeah, which was crazy
Yeah,
too.
I remember
Sorry.
that. No,
That
that's
was-
okay. And I
No,
wanted you, if there were bands that you liked. I know Shanna. I have one song story, and I don't mean to embarrass. It's just really quick, but
Please do. Please
when
embarrass.
we were going to go somewhere, and Keith Urban was one of our guys. And there's some really great on future podcasts, some really great Keith Urban stories that, not about me, but just the nicest guy, just the sweetest guy, and his stories about playing Fender and stuff. But anyway, at this time, he wanted to play bass on the tour. And I think we were going somewhere, Shanna, another show. And so Bill Comiskey, my good buddy Bill, who was the VP of Artist Relations, he said, Delbert, he used to call me Delbert. Grandma used to call me Delbert.
That grandma did, yeah.
Yeah, Delbert. He said, can you drop a bass off for Keith Urban at Center Staging, which is one of the places we worked with, a big rehearsal place. And I said, sure. And I told Shanna we were just going to drop it off. And we knock on the door. They tell us where it is. I got the bass, and the band's sitting around. Remember this, Shanna? It's just like warming up. And Keith comes in. I think the road manager goes, "Oh, the guy from Fender is here. Dad's got your bass." And I come in, and he was just like the nicest guy. And I remember, Shanna, you were pretty excited about just, even though we didn't really hang with him.
Yeah.
Just the fact that you got a chance to meet him, and he was just so nice. And he was great. He grabbed the bass and he was like playing, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. So
Keith Urban. All right.
No, I'm not a country music fan. I liked him because he was Nicole Kidman's husband.
Oh.
That's why I was like very freaked out. Like, and he was cute.
Oh,
That's very
great.
sweet Australian accent. He was adorable. He was really,
you
really
got
sweet
Heather
guy.
Locklear, you got Nicole Kidman. So.
Yeah.
All right, Shan, I feel like I cut you off. I'm sorry. You want to do another one?
I'm used to it. It's okay. Just kidding. We kid. Brian Adams. That was a fun one too. I'm a huge fan of Brian Adams. And actually, when I was unpacking at your house, Hal, I was playing a Brian Adams album, and I forgot I knew almost every song. And this was they probably came out in 1993, 94.
I do remember you listening to a lot of Brian Adams. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was great. I loved it. It was the same one from the Robin Hood soundtrack that was played ad nauseum.
Yeah.
I get that.
Everything I do it for you.
For
Gosh.
you. Mm-hmm.
Yes. That same
great
CD.
We did the guitars for his Unplugged. That's how I worked with. Well, he was always a Fender guy. Once again, Canadian, like super nice. The whole band, I actually had to meet him at O'Hara. Was it O'Hara Field? Yeah, O'Hara Field. He was on tour, and he has layover in O'Hara Field, and they called me, the road manager, once again before mobile phones, at home to get an acoustic for. It was probably the recording of that, and I remember grabbing a guitar. No, it was probably LAX. I take that back. I did have a cell phone or a pager, and I remember grabbing the guitar and meeting him at the airport with handing him the guitar, and like to try to find him, like you could page him,
Yeah.
Brian Adams, please, Brian Adams, not Ryan Adams, but Brian.
Do not confuse the two.
Gets mad when people call him. They ask for Summer of '65 or something.
69.
Yeah, sorry, Sam, but I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, so we met him, and he was the sweetest guy, like you said, and they had a bunch of, like a charcuterie board and lots of wine, and he offered me a glass of wine.
Oh,
and my dad jumped in and said, she's 15. Sorry, Brian. it was like, Canadian, we all drink. It's
Yeah,
like
well, at
Europeans.
15, they probably already, yeah. But I know.
Yeah, just, the best stories were just when they were just really nice or
Yeah.
good guys, or I would say women, but I don't think I've met a lot of women musicians, unfortunately. I don't think I had I think I met Lisa Loeb, right? At one of
Yeah.
the NAMM shows. She was really sweet, and Cheryl Crow was great, but most of them were men, and they were just, any of the good stories that I have were just being really nice to me and treated me very well.
Yeah, Cheryl Crow, I gave the first endorsement to her with Washburn. I remember when I left Washburn, she was upset because she was new, just came out, and a good friend of mine, Scotty Fink, and had ordered some guitars for promotion, and I saw her at the Park West, and I offered her an endorsement on the spot, and meaning that we would give her guitars and support her. And she goes, I'm not worthy. And I'm like, oh my God, you are worthy. You're like, it's that first record. And when you and I went to see her, was Poplar Creek. Am I right about that, Shanna?
Oh gosh, yeah, I can't remember.
And she hugged me and said, I'm so glad you're at Fender, because I guess the Washburn people, they're really rude to her. And there's no excuse for that. And I'm happy that you guys say that these people are nice, but I remember them the same way. I just remember Cheryl Crow, even the fact that she would even take the time and went backstage just to say how happy she was. And of course, she was a Fender person too.
Right.
But I remember that show. And I always thought Cheryl, even seeing her in a club, you just knew there was something amazing about her.
Yeah.
So, there was one weird one, Shan, I have to bring up, was David Lee Roth.
Oh, yes.
That
Yeah.
one?
He's out there.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
So we
Quite
get
the opposite of being a nice,
I can
nice
do
guy.
the
Oh
solo.
no.
Because we loved Van Halen, but this
Yeah.
was when he was solo. And he called me, and my secretary, remember at the time, she couldn't believe that it was David Lee Roth. And I said, no, it is. And so he had this idea of getting a guitar and taking chains and smashing it so it looked all beat up. Right? It was his idea. Well, years later, Keith Richards wanted it at Fender, and that became one of the most famous guitars for everybody, called a Relic. And we would make the guitars for Keith Richards, for who else? Sting, anybody that had to beat up guitar. We tried to do Springsteen, he wasn't interested, but those guys that played those, and they had a soul in that guitar, or a juju. And to recreate it, you had to have it the same feel and the look, like it was Weather. So he really was ahead of his time, and he was excited. So we got the guitar, and he invited us to the show. So I took you, Shannon, and I thought, we didn't know, the solo. He had a great guitar player, I remember, at the time in the show. And we got invited to backstage. And I remember what happened when he came to the dressing room, or the green room.
I mean, he just pretty much ignored us, was looking around. It looked like he didn't even know where he was, honestly. So
Yeah,
I could
it
tell
wasn't
you,
just us. It was like
yeah.
no one.
Yeah, no one. He was like beamed in from a different planet. That's what it looked like. I mean, probably was hopped up on quite a bit of drugs. I mean,
cape. It was the
Speculation
weirdest
warning.
speculation warning. I'm speculating. This is not evidence of anything. There was no drug
No.
test given.
But he had this weird
Not
look.
science.
He's kind of like this smile looking around.
Yeah.
And I love
Creepy.
David. I'm not saying
It was kind of
weird.
creepy.
It was weird.
He was a very strange man. But I met Eddie, and then when Gary Sharon from Extreme was for that very small time, had that one album, remember?
Yeah.
Met them. Kenny Wayne Shepherd band was opening.
That's what I was going to bring up. So Shanna has a very special place in her heart, and probably her favorite. I would think that other than Extreme, your favorite person to meet, it would be Kenny Wayne Shepherd, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, we were around the same age when we started. He was very young, Dad, when he started with Fender,
17.
right?
Yeah,
Was
17.
it Fender? Yeah. So we started going backstage and meeting him there. He's always a sweetheart. And then when Dad moved to California and I was still in Chicago, Dad would get us tickets to go see him, go backstage. And so we would always meet him. And he was always very gracious and very sweet, remembered me. And I remember we went to a show at the House of Blues, then a backstage. And he's like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? We're still in town. You want to come bowling with the band and we'll hang out? And very, very close. I mean, now he's married to Mel Gibson's daughter and has like 5 kids or something crazy like that. But we were very, very close to dating or going on a date.
Yeah, he was. He liked
it was very sweet, but it never. He left. I found out later that he like a different show, another show, and I said, "Hey, what happened? I never heard from you." He's like, "Oh, we actually ended up leaving early, and we didn't stay in Chicago, so I'm sorry about that." But Yeah, that's very, very close.
Probably the guys in the band are like, "That's Stell's daughter. You can't go out with her." But no, he's a real gentleman. I went to his
Yeah,
first
it's very sweet.
actually, I went to his first wedding in Shreveport, but it didn't he married a woman, Melissa, but he's married now to,
Yeah, Mel Gibson's daughter.
Mel Gibson's daughter. Yeah, we were in a show and Mel was there with the family. We were wondering, "Oh, he likes Kenny," but it was his daughter. Kenny's dad and I had a handshake agreement for the deal, and he's still with Fender after all these, probably 30 years later.
Wow.
His word was one of my favorite artists, and I agree. Do you remember we went backstage to one time, and it was in California, and I wore this jacket that it looked like leather, right? I mean, I'll tell you what you called it. We come in, and it was the whole band. And Kenny looks at us, and he was really, we're sitting right before the show, and Kenny goes, "Well, look how Dell dresses. Look at guys. Oh, it's the same thing with us every night. Blue jeans and a black t-shirt. That's all we wear." And look at Dell comes in, and he's got this beautiful leather jacket, and you go, "It's actually fleather." I'll never forget that. And they all burst out laughing.
Oh no, Dad, I apologize for calling you out. That was harsh. I mean, that is our sense of humor as a family. We kind of
you gotta have tough skin.
You gotta have tough skin in this family. I know. I feel bad for some people in our family because they're not used to it. I'm like, you guys, this is how we show love. We kid. We make jokes. If we ignored you and didn't joke with you, that means we don't love you. This is how we show love. So
because I'm saying, "Oh, leather, yeah," and then Shanna goes, "It's actually leather. I think you." Anyway,
Shanna,
running out of time.
keep it real.
keep it real.
Do you have a few more? Because we have one that we both experienced that I think.
Okay, for sure. So let's end then on the last one, because you and I both, I think, have separate stories of Meat Loaf, right? Dad, is that who you were thinking of? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'll just go first really quick. So Shanna and I were obsessed with Meat Loaf growing up. Very random, I know. But Shanna more so than me, I think, knew more songs and stuff than I did. But Bad Outta Hell 2, that's my jam. Like that album from back to front is a masterpiece. Shanna and I will still put it on and listen to it, so, from time to time. Oh, we should have done that on the road trip. Anyway,
I know. We just had a road trip when I helped you guys drive, and we had too much good music.
It was. So Meat Loaf has always had a special place in our heart, and even though he ended up becoming an interesting person the older he got, young Meat Loaf was a lot of fun. So when it was time we went to the Meat Loaf show, you took us backstage. There used to be these things called meet and greets, and they would either do them before the, I'm sure they still have them. They either do it where the band meets people before the show or after the show. I think most of the times it's before the show though. So this one was before the show. I was so excited to see Meat Loaf. I was ready. I knew every word to that album, and he came out for the meet and greet, and I was like really nervous and excited. And during these meetings, I tend to forget, like I'm a kid, like the time we talked about with Kevin Costner when I was like, is he flirting with me? Oh no, I'm a child. So I'm talking to him, and there were other kids around too. So it might have been kids from other people in the business and the industry, but there was me and a few other kids. And so Meat Loaf pulls us to the side, and he's like, "Now, I just want to let you guys know, before the show tonight, there's some language. There's a lot of language. So, do as I say, not as I do, type of thing." And then what did he say? Was that it? Was that the big thing? He just said, like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of bad language, questionable language. Don't repeat it, just close your ears or something. And I was like, oh man, Meat Loaf has no idea who I am. This is not the worst thing I will hear tonight. But yeah, so he was just like really nice, but he was really cute, like trying to like preface it like, he said, "You're about the same age as my daughter," I think at the time. So he was just, he was really, really sweet and funny. And just the fact that he took kind of that time to talk to the kids was really fun. So I loved that meeting. Yeah.
And you missed one part of the story. I'm glad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dad.
You were on TV that night.
I was.
Channel 32 News was filming him, on a little segment about Meat Loaf because they had by far the biggest selling album and tour of that year, and you were on, and you couldn't hear what he was saying, but in the camera when they were talking about him backstage meeting his fans, he was talking to you, and he looked so big. And actually, I believe
I don't remember that.
I think his manager sent me. Oh, Chasm Sultan was the bass player, and
Yeah, Chasm, really
from
nice guy.
Utopia, and
Yeah.
he introduced me to Meat Loaf, and I have other stories on working with Meat Loaf. He was just fantastic, and but that's why we were at those shows, because then once you start working with Meat, you're like his friend, you know what I mean? But at that time, his manager sent me that. I think I have the video somewhere. You just see this big hulking guy, and he's like got his fingers, something like this, like warning you, don't repeat it.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Channel 32.
Remember
It was
that.
WFLD TV or something. And then Shanna, you got to have dinner with him, right?
Yeah, he had a Hard Rock Cafe show, so I think we had dinner with him after the show, I believe. And he kept stealing our fries.
Well, I think he
was
was
stealing our French fries. I was like, Meat Loaf, okay, I get it, but I'm
didn't have a
hungry.
big appetite, but I remember having the food, and he goes, "Are you gonna eat your fries?" And you're like, "Oh, you can have some." And it was like a shovel that came in, and he just grabbed them. Nobody said anything,
Yeah, it's like one of those claws from the claw machine.
Yeah, it was like a claw. I remember that. That was so funny.
I'll never wash this fry again.
Yeah, what can you say? It's Meat Loaf. You got to give him all the fries. I couldn't.
And he loved Nuno, and so did his daughter. And quick story about Meat Loaf, when he was announcing the tour, which was going to be the biggest tour of the year, and his manager, Alan Kovac, very famous manager, who also managed, I don't remember who else, Richard Marx, and a lot of big names. But he'd call me and he'd say, "Look, Meat really loves doing this. He's not much, known for his guitar playing, but he said he would promote your guitar if he could get a Nuno. He loves Nuno's guitar, and his daughter loves Nuno. So if you'd be very special, he would play it on the tour. So he's gonna be on David Letterman. I get the guitar to New York, and I'm just at home watching, and the guitar's on a stand, and Meat Loaf singing. I think it's I Would Do Anything for Love, because that was a one big super hit, number
But
one.
you won't do what, Meat Loaf? You won't do.
He tells you in the song. Don't get me started.
I know.
He tells you.
Okay,
You know he tells you in the song.
He's looking in the camera and singing, and I had this was Washburn again. I had Washburn, the owner, Rudy, Mr. Del, but then he's going to play the guitar, sitting on stage. And finally, at the very end, the other guitar player is doing a solo, and he turns around. It's like I almost remembered, and he grabs the guitar, puts it like right in the camera. It was incredible. And for me to see that, Washburn certainly wasn't Fender, but for Washburn to get that on this massive show. And the next week, the ad came out in USA Today, which is like 10 million readers. It was a full page on the back thing of Meat Loaf with the guitar doing this.
Oh, nice.
That was pretty
I
amazing.
remember that. Yeah, that's awesome. That's
And I still have that somewhere. But I remember Rudy coming in and going, in his German accent, Mr. Del, you are the luckiest man in the world. He kept asking me, we gave the Meat Loaf, you gave the Meat Loaf a guitar, Like, it's pretty funny. But yeah, I love Meat.
R.I.P. Yep.
R.I.P.
Right. I mean, but you can think, what I love about you guys talking about this is it brings back wonderful memories, all good. But you guys said it, that these people are just so nice, and they're so cordial, and no matter what you read about, and sometimes it's image, and yeah, there are some bad apples and stuff, but I gotta say, they're just like real people. They're like us. And I think that when they're touring, it's pretty special to meet people that are not just the fans. You can be a fan, but the fact that there's a real world out there. Yeah, so I really appreciate you guys remembering not only you met these people, but just the way that they are, and that's my favorite part of my life and my job, for my job, not my life, but my life in music, is finding these people. And, even sometimes it's a short time, but you kind of unlock that key, you get to know. And actually Meat Loaf's manager and Meat Loaf wanted to start a guitar company with me.
Oh, Dad.
Out of the clear blue, they had money, but those startups are very, very hard, and I didn't stay. I ended up leaving Washburn, going to Fender. But my point is, really, Meat Loaf was a really solid, not physically only, but as far as a professional, they and Chasm and that band, they were like the greatest. Everybody in that band pulled
Well,
so
and their performances. I mean, it was a show. I mean,
it was like a theater show. It wasn't just a concert, right? It was a theater
Yeah.
experience. It was so fun. Yeah, it was really fun.
Great. Well, Dad, I mean, thanks for, even though sometimes we were bored out of our minds, but thanks for dragging us around. And
Dad had to do the schmooze fest.
The schmooze fest.
I
wouldn't change our childhood for anything. And we can joke about it, and we understand that we grew up a lot differently than a lot of people out there. But I want to just kind of end on that. We are gracious and grateful for everyone that has always been nice to us, and that tolerated the kids hanging around in the back. And obviously, it gave us some pretty amazing experiences. So, and we have a lot more. So I think we should do a part 2 to this at some point.
Right. Kind of remember, now that you guys are talking, there's other stories. And I will say how proud I am of you as a father, of not only you being never embarrassing me, except for maybe the cracker dance, but besides that, that I felt comfortable no matter what age that I could bring you, because I knew that your manners and that you were respectful. And Holly, you remember maybe more than Shanna, maybe not, but you remember what I tell you about the music business, right? What was my thing that I always told you when we said it was fun?
Never given it.
No, I said but it's fun, but if it was easy, everyone
would do it. Yeah.
And what makes me so proud of the two of you are in the business. I mean, you're owners of a School of Rock, which is amazing. And the fact that whether that came because of your family, your uncles in the music business, your love of music, and maybe some of it, being comfortable around it. But I couldn't be more proud of you guys. I mean, the fact that you can do something and own a business and be in the music business, I mean, it's just the most rewarding thing for a father. I'll just say that.
Thanks, Dad. It's very sweet.
I'm sure, my passion for School of Rock and what we do, I'm sure a lot of it comes from, I had a lot of opportunities growing up, and I got to do a lot of cool things and meet a lot of cool people and see things. And I think it's wanting to, give that to the next generation of kids, and make sure that they have cool experiences and that they're surrounded by music, and, because I wouldn't have it any other way. It's my life.
Right.
So, yeah.
And Shanna, you said the same thing, right, Shanna? I mean, the reason that you got into as partners, not only is it your sister, but you really felt that it's important for, these, and it is, there's no music in schools anymore. There's no art in schools. It's a little bit different in Canada. I must say they respect the arts a little bit more, but the funding cuts in the US, it affects everyone. And the saddest thing, if I didn't get a guitar and learn, I don't know what I would have been. I don't think I could have succeeded in anything else. At least I wouldn't have the love and the passion for it. And if you love something, and that's also what you can, not even a job, but if you're passionate about something and you can make it your life's work, that's the greatest gift.
Well, we're so excited. We're hoping that we're still negotiating the lease for the space right now. But once that's signed, then the fun begins. We get the architect and the drawings, and we are so excited to build our own School of Rock and kind of reach the next generation of kids out here in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. We're coming for you.
Shanna, maybe you can call Kenny Wayne Shepherd and ask him to come on.
Yes.
You set one, or Nuno. We'll get Nuno to come out there.
I would die. That would be great. That would be amazing.
You never know. If the big part of this podcast is, you never know. We find ourselves in these situations, sometimes.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's true.
It's an ongoing story.
That's true.
Well, this was so fun. Thanks for coming on, Sister Ned.
Yeah, thank you, Shanna. That was great.
Thank you, guys.
Coming up at some time, so.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll plan the next one. Again, everyone, we really, really appreciate your support, your listening. If you're on YouTube, please do the YouTube stuff and like and share. If you're on Spotify, feel free to give us a share and a like on there too. Follow. I think that's the word for Spotify. and podcasts, but we really appreciate you guys listening to our stories. You know, these are stories that we've shared around for, you know, during our family dinners and stuff like that. So it's really fun to be sharing them with all of you. And yeah, so we just appreciate everyone and the support. Again, we kind of got off track there for a little bit just because we were moving, but now that we're back, we're going to get back to a regular schedule of recording and uploading these. So stay tuned, and thanks so much. And thanks, guys. Dad,
Love you guys.
love you. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.